Our next unit, that name is the pressure. What is the pressure? Of physics and the nursing related of the biological effectivity which is observed into the physical manner. Let's talk about the first introductory factor and the contents. What study of the pressure in this biophysics portion. Let's first one, importance of the pressure in the human body. Atmospheric pressure, hydrostatic pressure, osmotic pressure, measurement of the pressure, applications of principle of pressure in the nursing. Means these are the various contents we have to study into the pressure. First one, this is the different type of the pressuritic factor which are appear by the here. This is the time pressure in time, this is the tensionetic pressure, and this is the instrument pressure. Okay, there are different type you observed by this different type of the figure, so we can understand about them. This is the biological manner, and this is also biological manner. This is the natural manner. This is up here. Okay, next one. What is the simple manner? In our schooling age, we are already studied about the pressure. A definition: the pressure is the force on a unit surface area, which is the pressure, which is the force on a unit surface area. If the force F is acting on a surface of area A, the pressure P which is given by P is equal to force upon area is equal to F upon A. This is the factors, means ki calculation factor P barabar P is equal to F upon A. F is equal to force, A is equal to area. The pressure which is excreted by the fluid is called the fluid pressure. What is the type of different type of the pressures which are observed into the human being? Excreted means ki observed, excreted by the fluid, which is called as the fluid pressure. SI unit of the pressure, which is the Pascal. Pascal is the SI unit of the pressure. Pressure is the scalar quantity because it has no fixed directions, means ki pressure which haven't any fixed direction. Atmospheric pressure is the 10⁵ Pascal. Atmospheric pressure, how much amount of the atmospheric pressure which is observed onto the human being, which is 10⁵ Pascal. In a medical practices, the most common method of indicating the pressure is by height of the column of the mercury, means ki which is observed by the column of the mercury pressure. By these conditions we have to identify. P is equal to HdG. The pressure of the column of liquid which is calculated by P is equal to HdG. The pressure which is equal to by the HdG, where H is equal to H height into the meter, D is equal to density, and the G is equal to gravitational constant. These are the P is equal to HdG. Next one, importance of the pressure in the human body. The knowledge of the pressure which is needed to understand the functioning of the human body. Means ki, what is that? The knowledge of the pressure which is needed for the understanding the functioning of the human body, which is functioning by pressure by the human body. And normal breathing depends on the differences in a intrapleural and intrapulmonary pressure. Means ki the normal breathing which are depends on differences in intrapleural or intrapulmonary pressure. The effectiveness of the treatment such as the enema and other irrigations depends on to the pressure. Means ki effectiveness of the pressure factor which is depend by the enema or other irritants. Irrigations means ki some of the fluid we have to remove before some of the process which is occur depends on to the pressure. Many body functions which is depends on the fluid pressure. Example, heart pumps blood through arteries at the quite high pressure of the 100 to 140 mm of the Hg. This is the many body functions which are depends on to the fluid pressure. Example, heart pumps blood which are through by the arteries at a quite high pressure of the 100 to 140 mm of the Hg, which are observed by this condition. The flow of the blood into the arterial manner, and this functions which is pumped by this heart muscles. The pressure of the heart, which is a quite 100 to 140 mm of the Hg. Next one, atmospheric pressure. Atmosphere and atmospheric pressure. The atmosphere of the earth is the layer of the gases which is commonly known as the air that surrounds the planet earth. What is called as the atmospheric of the earth is the layer of the gases which is commonly known as the known by the air and which surrounds by the planet earth. Atmospheric pressure. The air which is around you has weight and it presses against the everything. It touches, means ki atmospheric pressure which is touches everything, and pressure which is called atmospheric pressure or the air pressure. The weight of the atmosphere excrete a force on a sea level. This force produced a pressure of the 14.7 lb inches to psi. This is the extracted factor which is observed by the sea level and which is produced by the pressure of the 14.7 lb and lb or into the inches square into the psi. Atmospheric pressure drops as altitudes increase, means ki but the atmosphere pressures which is going to be drop, the altitudes which are going to be increase. What is altitudes? Altitudes means ki that proposed things, the pressure is going to be higher or the drops, and the altitudes that is the product of which is going to be less altitudes. Next one, as the pressure decreases, the amount of oxygen available to breathe also decrease, means ki the pressure which is going to decrease, the amount of the oxygen available by the breath also which is going to be decreases. At very high altitudes, atmospheric pressure and available oxygen which is gets so low that the people can become sick and even the die. Means ki very high altitudes, the atmospheric pressure and available oxygen get so low, people will be going to sick and even for the die. Aircraft create artificial pressure in a cabin so passengers remain comfortable while the flying. Means into the here given some example by the normal accidental factor into this condition, normal occur factor into normal routine. Aircraft creates artificial pressure in the cabin so the passenger remain comfortable while going to be flying. Next one, instruments for measuring the atmospheric pressure. Like atmospheric pressure which is commonly measured with a barometer, which is observed by the commonly measured within a barometer. This is the instrument name, commonly measured with a barometer. Applications of atmospheric pressure. What is the applications of the atmospheric pressure? The suction is the process by which regions which having subatmospheric pressures can be created, and it is used during surgical operations for the removal of the blood. Means ki the suctions which is a process by which the regions which have subatmospheric pressure and which is created during the surgical operation for the removal of the blood by this atmospheric pressure. This is the suctions factor, the extracted blood factor which are going to be suctionated out during of the surgical process. Many kind of the aspirations in the hospital wards work on the application of controlled suction. Means ki many kinds of the aspirators means ki suction by the hospital wards work on the applications which control of the suction. Now different type of the suctionate factor and the drainaging factor. Water seal drainage used after thoracic operations work on controlled suction or the gravity. Means ki the water which is going to be sealed by the drainage used after thoracic operations work by control the suction by the gravity. What is the suctions and apparatus for the drainage? The suction apparatus for the drainage in Post-operative treatment of the patients with alimentary tract disorders, which is commonly observed in a surgical ward. Means ki, which is caused by the alimentary tract disorders and which is observed in a surgical ward. Here, this is the extraluminal spongy material, so this is the intraluminal spongical material which is excreted by its wall. The tidal drainage by means of gravity flow and a siphonage initiates the natural physiological process of the urinary bladder, and the pressure which is greater than the atmospheric pressure is applied by the numerous mechanical devices to elevate distributed pulmonary functions. Pumps are depends for their functioning on atmospheric pressure. Fluid moves from high pressure to the lower pressure. Means ki pumps which are dependent for their functioning on atmospheric pressure. Fluid which is moves from the high pressure to the lower pressure. In hospital, pumps can be used to fill air mattress. Means in hospitals, pumps which are used for fill air mattress. Here, some therapeutical portions of the bed which are used for the mattress, means ki pressuritic bed which are observed for the therapy, which is mostly observed into the hospital. Human heart operates like the pump. The right ventricle pumps venous blood into the lungs and the left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood to the tissue. This is the normal passageway of the blood into oxygenated and deoxygenated blood by the venous and the arterial factor. Next one, siphon. What is called as the siphon? A bent pipe or tube with one end lower than the other, in which hydrostatic pressure excreted due to the force of gravity and moves liquid from one container into the another on a lower level. What is called a siphon? The bent pipe. Here some one of the experiment which is observed. This is the bent pipe which is, or the tube which is inserted over here, and here the passageway which is occurred by the a natural factor, like lower than the other in the higher to the lower concentration. This is called as diffusions, that manner. Here this is the height. The hydrostatic pressure excreted due to the force of the gravity which moves liquid from one container into the another on a lower level. Hydrostatic pressure. What is the hydrostatic pressure which is there? It is the very important property of all the fluids. Means ki hydrostatic pressure, which is very important property of all the fluids, which is discovered by the Pascal. This is the Pascal in one of the unit name, and this is the Pascal discovered by Pascal, which is unit name and which is discovered by the Pascal. Pascal's law. An external pressure which is applied to a fluid in a closed vessels is uniformly transmitted throughout the fluid. Means ki fluid in a closed vessels uniformly which is transmitted out of the fluid. This is the Pascal's law. Again we have to repeat. The external pressure which is going to be applied, normal pressure, outer pressure, external pressure when is applied, fluid in a closed vessels which is uniformly, which is transmitted throughout to the fluid. Applications of Pascal's law. In medicine, the use of water, mattress and the air rings work on the same principle. This is the principal factor. These mattresses are used to prevent the bad sores, which is occur for the bad. What is called as the bad sores? Let's talk about that. The one of another, when the patient is completely onto the bed rest, this is the bad sores. Means ki one positions behind of the patients completely by the 24 hours onto the bed. Any other defectivitical conditions or the necrosis conditions which is not occurred due to of that reasons, this type of the bed system have to taken. This is prevent the bad sores. Okay. Here this is the water mattress and this is the air mattresses which is there. Next one, the amniotic sac which is unclosing the fetus in the uterus is filled with the amniotic fluid. What is called as the amniotic fluid? Amniotic fluid, which is called as the uterus fluid, it's protect to the baby in an internal factor from to the outer any jerk conditions to absorb by this amniotic fluid, and baby will be going to be safe, which provides protections to the fetus, which provide to protection to the fetus. Any pressure which is applied against the abdominal which will be transmitted to the amniotic fluid. Means any pressure which is applied against this abdominal wall will be transmitted by the amniotic fluid. To avoid the unequal pressure which may cause fetal deformities, the patient is cautioned against the wearing tight clothing during the pregnancy. Means avoid unequal pressure which may cause the fetal deformities, and patients which is cautioned against for wearing a tight cloth during the pregnancy. This is the very normal precautions which is there. The tight clothing which is avoided to wearing by this condition. Next one. Here some taken some picture of it. This is the pregnancy factor. This is the pregnancy. This is the placenta. Here observe. This is umbilical cord. This is uterus. This is the amniotic sac. This is amniotic fluid what we are talking about. And this is cervix, which is vagina. Right. So here the amniotic fluid which gives a jerk back, means any outer external forces or any outer external jerk, which is this amniotic fluid absorb it that jerk and protect the baby which is developed into the womb, right, into the uterus. Next one, the lumbar pressure and the spinal fluid. The flow stays to locate the blockage in a flow of the CSF is also based on this principle. Means the lumbar pressure LP and the spinal fluid flow test to locate the blockage in a flow of the CSF is also based on this principle. This is the spinal cord factor, which is the vertebrate. This is the needle taking sample of CSF, cerebral fluid, and this is the spinal cord. Right, so this is the cross sections who are taken by the lower spinal factor. The Signo Manometer, the mercury manometer which is operates on the principle of the Pascal's law. Means the sphygmometer or the sphygmomanometer which is observed by the blood pressure in our body by the mercury manometer operates by this principle of the Pascal's law. The Pascal's law, which is a pressure-rating factor or outer any pressure-rating factor which is depends by this external force, and the mercury will detect to the measurement how many type of the what the type of the blood pressure conditions available at the patient right now. Next one here, this is the sphygmomanometer. This is the folding of the mercury manometer. This is inflatable cords. This is the needle type pressure which is related to the spin, squeeze ball pump. This is osculations which is palpations, bronchial artery, and the stethoscope which is observed by the sphygmomanometer. Next one, medicine droppers and rubber bulb syringe and close of fluid also work on the principle of the Pascal's law. Means any external force, we are taken some external force to the pump into this manual pipette, the suck it down of the any fluid by this external pressure and suck it down into this pipette of the law. This is also depend by the principle of the Pascal's law. Next one, hydraulic brakes used in aircraft and automobiles and trucks also work on this principle. Means this is the given us to this brake, these are the speed increase and this gear changes, this is all conditions. Means this is the master cylinder, this is the slave. Here we are not getting some detailed examination or detailed instrumentation factor, but we are taking by in aircraft a simple instrumentation factor. What is the type of the pressure if we are applied onto the machine, and the machine will be get the pressure increase and this aircrafting factor, and the mechanism will be going to be applied. This is the applied factor. This is the pressure which are appear by the outer. This is also appear by the outer pressure, which depends on to the Pascal's law, right? Next one, the hydraulic pressure which is used to compress the metal sheet. The hydraulic pressure which is compressed means ki jerk which is going to be absorbed by the hydraulic pressure, which is mechanical factor and used to compress the metal sheet. Next one, hydraulic car jerk are used to lift heavy vehicles in an automobile workshop. The heavy machines or the heavy metals or the heavy instruments which are lifted down by the hydraulic pressure. Next one, dentist chair which is also work on the same principle. The dentist is the surgeon which is used by the chair to take some treatment by this chair portions of the patient. So this pressuritic factor which is one of the pressuritic example, all the situations which is done by this pressure factor on the same. This is the big piston, this is the pedal, this is the appear by the small piston, this is the appear by this pressuritic outer pressure factor. Well, whatever the doctor which is performed by the outer factor. Now, heavy leads of some steriles are lifted by using the same principle, means ki the heavy leads of the some sterilizers are lifted by using the same principle. Latest new technological hospitals beds also works on the same principle. Means ki latest new technological hospitals every instruments which are appear by this outer Pascal's law pressuritic principle factor also work on the same principle. Okay.